Hello and welcome to another one of my series of Rebooting Your Life. And today I am with the lovely Helen Hill, aka the Unlikely Genius. I'll leave that to her to explain to you why that is. But Helen is going to talk to us about how she had to make a really tough decision and a huge leap and massive change to protect both her physical and mental health. So, Helen, would you mind just introducing yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so as she said, I am Unlikely Genius, which I work for myself as a learning and content and graphic designer. So all about being user focused and helping people in creating e-learning or face-to-face learning or their business's content, making sure it is user focused and written for the learners or the users. So I've been doing that now for 2 years. I just celebrated my business birthday last week. And yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell, my business.
Fabulous. And do you want to tell them where the I love this story. Would you want to tell everyone where the Unlikely Genius name for your business came from?
Yeah, so it is the question I get most asked, to be fair. And I've actually just applied to trademark the name this morning because it's getting a lot of interest. So it's come from the fact that I am a bit of a ditzy blonde at times. I am absolutely clumsy. I hurt myself daily, walk into doors, trip over air, and all the rest of it. And I think, yeah, and I don't think people have always expected clever things to come out of this mouth. So they seemed to be getting surprised when it did. So when I was on my master's degree and we were thinking about how to promote ourselves after university, it was just something that came up because earlier in that day there'd been a real oh, she's come up with some good stuff. An Unlikely Genius was born from that, really. And it's always been there in the background because I've done work on the side for years. But ever since I have gone full time for myself, I feel like I've kind of really embraced it now, and it actually really represents me. So, yes.
Yes, I think it does really represent you.
Yeah.
As well as your fluffy bunnies as well.
Well,
I'm sure we'll talk about that in more detail. As you can tell, I do know Helen quite well. Well, we've got to know each other very well over the last 2020, haven't we, I would say?
Yeah, I think so. Coming up for a year, probably, yeah.
So, could you tell us all about your story?
Yeah, so to be honest, there's quite a few times I've had to reboot in my life for various reasons to do with health, really. But the latest one was the most sort of significant and the most successful one. So, yeah 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with a lifelong illness, and 2 weeks later with a problem with my spine. And there's been a whole roller coaster for 10 years then of, being in constant pain, being ill. It's affected my mental health, my resilience. And it got to the point where I've never felt like I've particularly fit in anywhere. I was constantly guilt tripped about time I was having off for appointments and things, even though I more than made it up. And it ended up really eroding my confidence to the point where 2 years ago I'd had enough. I was having panic attacks and just thought, throw myself into working for myself. I was off sick. I'd got a horrible letter from work and just thought, not doing it anymore. So luckily, while I was off sick, someone had approached me about a contracting role, which I'd never even thought of going down the contracting route. And I got the job. So within 2 days of me saying, right, that's it, I'm going, I had landed myself a contract role and started that a couple of weeks later. So it just threw me into self-employment. I suddenly had to understand what, being a sole trader versus a limited company was, and whether I needed to register for that, and all those million things that come with being self-employed. But yeah, it was just the best decision I ever made, basically. It's given me headspace to get over all the past things,
Yeah.
to look after myself,
Yeah.
to look after my head, get that in the right space. And I suppose what I was saying, like, about embracing the brand, I've now feel like I can be myself, which is the
Yeah.
biggest thing
Yeah.
that I think I possibly have had, where, often in companies and things that you're expected to be a certain way. I was actually told I shouldn't be myself.
Yeah.
Um, so now I can be, and that's really helped everything, mentally,
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
we love you. We love you for being you.
Well, this is the thing, people started responding really nicely to me being daft, to being a crazy rabbit obsessed mum and things like that. And you suddenly think, oh no, this is all right. I can be myself. I don't have to be this corporate robot and all these other things that you kind of push
Yeah.
toward.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in a corporate world, you try and climb that ladder. I've always been someone really ambitious, so I was
Yeah.
constantly trying to get to that next level
Yeah.
and feeling
Yeah.
like I was failing.
Yeah.
And was eventually told, right, you're never going to climb in this company. Right, okay, well, I'll go and do it for myself. And, that's so lovely that now, like, all the successes are my own, not
Yeah.
somebody else's. So,
Yeah. Or something that someone else can take credit for.
oh, yes. Yes, that happens quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, if you can pinpoint it, do you think there was an actual turning point for you?
I think it had built for a long time, but definitely there was a few events that happened in quite quick succession. And funnily enough, you've just mentioned one of people taking credit for your work. I'd actually had someone go and present my work for an award, claiming it as their own and things. And you just think, this isn't right. This is, and and I was trying so hard to do everything right, but it felt very much like I was just constantly misunderstood. Things were being taken in a way that weren't intended, and and you just start to think, am I going crazy? Or, and like I said, I started to really have panic attacks and things. And then the worse that got, the more time I had to have off for appointments, which then it was a cycle again of, right, I'm having to take more time off. So I'm having to make up even more time, because for every hour I took off, I gave 2 back. And
then puts more pressure on you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's something that I talk to people about, that sometimes, stress, becomes the cause of a mental illness, but also mental illness can cause additional stress. So, it's because of those commitments to appointments to try and get yourself better, to try and, work around your work and try and fit everything in around your family. So yeah, I completely get that, Helen.
And that was a thing as well, that my dad's been very ill, and there was a point where I was quite upset because of me feeling ill, my dad being ill, whatever. And a HR manager had actually said, well, just forget about it. And that's where you go, not really how it works, And I was doing all the right things, but didn't seem to be getting out of that cycle of more stress, more time off, feeling. And, I just got to the point of absolute overwhelm. I mean, one thing that has been really interesting, actually, I've just read the book. Well, I'm still on with the book Quiet, about being an introvert in an extrovert's world. And I always thought I was a little bit extroverted. And actually, I've realized that I was forcing myself to be.
Yeah.
Even things like, it talks about how everything is set up for an extrovert's world.
Yeah.
Something like being sat in an open plan office, I've realized now, was such a big factor for me. Because I was right in the middle of this open plan office with constant noise about me. I was stressed, I was exhausted, because I get insomnia and things as well.
Yeah.
So I couldn't concentrate, and that would get me more stressed as well.
Yeah.
Which then in turn, you're getting more tired, you're sleeping less. Oh God. And it was a real cycle of all that. And I've realised now how much that had a huge effect on me.
Yeah.
In the middle of office, and you feel like you constantly have to be perky and things as well, don't you? And you have to the chit chat and sometimes you don't want to. so yeah, I think they all added up together. And yeah, like I said, there was just this one moment where I'd had a morning where I just had a bit of a meltdown, and it was a case of I've gone home and I never went back.
Yeah.
And it's
And
yeah.
and how so you said that you were like having panic attacks. Sort of how often were you having them, and how did that sort of happen?
Well, the first time I had one, I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was like hyperventilating and going a bit insane.
Yeah.
But real kind of feel it in your chest, and it's that thing of wanting to run but having nowhere to run.
Yeah.
And they were getting to the point where it was a good couple of times a week at least, if not getting to daily,
Yeah.
which I think was the point where it was like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be running off to cry in the toilets or in the car park.
Yeah. Well, that's not you, is it?
No, it's
That's
not.
Helen we know and love. No.
But that was, I was very not me at all at the time. So yeah.
So how did you go about rebooting your life?
Well, I think even more medical help, reaching out to doctors and, making sure, because the thing that increased as well was my pain level with my back problem. So I was in agony with that, which the stress wasn't helping at all. So getting lots of help from, I have a fabulous physio. So he's done a lot of work for me. I did go and see a therapist. That was quite a big thing for me. I was really like, should I be doing this, and that stigma that goes with it and all the rest of it. So but I did. We mostly talked about rabbits a lot of the time, actually. I just got them at that point. And just trying to look after myself, I think, and give myself the space. And, my partner's been brilliant through it all. I mean, he didn't understand panic attacks and what the hell was happening, but, he has been really good about it. I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I did, but it was a case of having to reach out to medical help and get that kind of realization that this is not actually that unusual. The doctor was like, this is so common at the moment. People being pushed to this point.
And what prior to this point, where you was kind of, I know we talk about where you was kind of creative, doing all your other creative things prior to this, or not?
I've always been creative, but it was about this time that I started doing the crochet. And that's a really good thing to do because it's quite mindful in that you've got to count. So you can't be stressing about work when you've got to count your rows and your stitches and your colours when you've got to switch colours and things. So that was a really good thing to take up. And I love reading, so reading's always been a factor. But that did go by the wayside for a little bit. I couldn't concentrate on books. So I think that's partly why I took up the crochet, actually. But then I have found more since, like the resin making, and the pottery and the whittling and it's too many. It's just too many.
Turn your hand to anything, don't you? We just have a go. And do you know what? That's all of that is part of keep learning. That's one of the NHS's 5 ways to well-being. So that's why I was kind of, so sometimes some of the simplest things that we do, we might not think that they're connected or the effect that they can have, like going for a walk in the morning for me is like, well, that's keep active. That's another one. But also it's, that take notice part that you talked about, that kind of taking your mind off those thoughts and having to count and try and keep your head focused and in one place to give it a break. That is mindfulness, isn't it? It's a different
and I had to really start taking notice of my thinking patterns because I was very much someone that ruminated on things a lot. You can't change, they're in the past. And I was lying awake at night with these things going through my head, and then worrying for the future, which funnily enough, now I've gone self-employed, I do a lot less, which you'd think it would be the other way. But I was constantly worried about where am I going to get this next career progression from, or what am I going to do about XYZ issue going on at work. Whereas now I'm in charge of my own, development and I do a hell of a lot of development actually. I never stop with that stuff because, like you say, keep learning is. I've always been a big learner. I'm an eternal student. I would happily just keep going back to university and doing endless degrees, but I have to rein myself in a little bit because I might have taken on a few too many hobbies at the moment.
Yes, that sometimes doesn't help, does it? So so you've rebooted your life in that way, and you've kind of got more time at home. But obviously running your own business obviously has its downsides as well, doesn't it? So how do you how do you kind of keep on track with making sure that you've got that kind of pause and kind of you're trying to keep in check? Because I know you are a very hard worker, and yes, you are you. Sometimes that sometimes you've needed to take rest.
Yeah.
So kind of how are you trying to build that in now to make sure that kind of you're looking after yourself?
Yeah, I hands up, I'm absolutely guilty of constantly taking on too much. I'm very much a people pleaser and want to do everything for everyone and give more than I'm getting paid for and all the rest of it. So I do have to rein myself in with that. I'm having to be very realistic about timescales, and making sure that I am delivering what I'm asked for and not going crazy and giving extra hours that I'm not paid for or that aren't expected.
Yeah.
One big thing I've done recently is to take on a VA, so she can help me with things like social media and maybe things like proofreading and stuff. So I've only had her about 4 weeks, but she's made an incredible difference already, to be honest.
Brilliant. That's so good.
And I think it's just the being aware of, I'm getting better at realising when I'm getting to that point of overwhelm and stress. So I am recognising it a little bit better. It doesn't mean I always do. I still have my odd moments.
But the other weekend, you were like, I've worked too hard. I'm absolutely shattered. I am pushing myself to take the weekend off.
Yeah.
And because it is sometimes when you've got a new project, which I know that you have, sometimes it's really hard to kind of not be tempted to go back in and sneak in and do a bit more work, because just because you can kind of get a bit ahead of yourself or catch up and you pushed yourself to take that weekend off, which was great.
Yeah, I did. And, sometimes it means that I might actually work a bit more in a couple of evenings so I can take the weekend off. But it's still that, finding that balance of, if it means I can get 2 days off, I will do 3 hours extra tonight or 2 hours. And I do sometimes have to do that still.
Yeah.
But I did post a picture of myself under a blanket, and because I was doing what I've been told for once. Here's me under a blanket. And that's the thing I'm trying to work towards now, making sure that I get my weekends and get my evenings back, because I have been working very long hours, both of those. But I think once we get back to a bit of normality,
we hope.
Hopefully I'll get back to things like gym classes and things, which I think really help me as well, because they get me out of the house, and that's the thing that I need to start working on, making sure that I'm away from the laptop, because it's too easy to pick that up and and carry on, or to do some social media on my phone or what have you. So the big thing for me now, like you said, a walk in the morning, I need to do that.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for the whole of lockdown, but I need to do it now. It's getting outside, making sure you make that time to just go, right, the laptop is staying upstairs.
Yeah.
It's not coming down with me, and you are not doing anything work related on your phone. That's got to, and trying to get that free.
Yeah. So are there any tips that you could give to anybody, do you think, who is perhaps feeling like a bit of perhaps overwhelm at the moment?
Well, I would definitely say don't be afraid to reach out. Stigma schmigma. Well, let's fight that, because that was a real holdback for me for a long time, but it made such a difference when I did.
Yeah.
And it also stops you passing that stress onto your family members, doesn't it? So if you're constantly ranting at your partner or whatever, and then that's increasing their stress load, it means at least you can pass some of it to an outsider who's not related to any of it. So yeah, asking for help is a big thing. I have rarely ever asked for help. I like to do everything myself and things. But whether that is, asking a friend to make sure they drag you out for a walk, or every couple of weeks, or getting your neighbour to take you out when they walk the dog or something, even. Ask for other people to help you get past it, really, and start doing the things that will help you get better, I think. Yeah.
You're not taking your rabbits for a walk yet, then?
No, I have to take them for a drive sometimes when they have a fight, but not for a walk.
When they fight?
Yeah. Which we're coming up, September the 22nd is always the week they fight. So we're praying it doesn't happen next week, but they have a massive fight once a year. Yeah, so.
Right. How
them in a box.
Are they siblings?
Yeah, sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cute rabbits, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? They've been one of the big things as well for my head. Having something to care for, and although they hate humans, they will not come near us. They do get forced cuddles and kisses, and they hate it, but I love it. And it's amazing how they can pick up your mood just to go and either watch them playing or to give them some treats and interact with them. They've been a huge help, especially with them working at home. They're a nice source of company as well. Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's the main tip. Get rabbits.
Or a dog. Everyone's doing that, aren't they now, apparently?
Yeah. Well, I'm scared of dogs, so.
The only thing is, now I've been at home so much, I go out to put the bins out and I'll get a greeting as if she's not seen me for 6 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, any other tips?
Oh, gosh. I think definitely a big thing is get creative. Whether you're good at it or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've tried some things and failed spectacularly. But give a creative thing a try, because whether it's painting, whether it's making some jewelry, or there's something for everyone anyway.
Yeah.
They're really good tasks to get you in that mindset of having to focus on something else other than your stresses.
Yeah.
And like I say, it doesn't matter if it goes wrong. You're only doing it for your benefit anyway. You're not doing it to sell it unless you're amazing at it and you want to do that. Absolutely. And some of the stuff I do, actually, I do crochet for charities, so making the octopuses for preemie babies and some stuff for blankets for baby rhinos, which are actually blankets which go to baby rhinos sometimes, and monkeys and things. So that gives you a lovely sense of doing something as well, and a nice little achievement to know that, there's a sandpark ranger stopping poachers getting rhinos who's got one of my blankets.
Yeah.
Like for when he sleeps in the desert overnight and stuff. So stuff like that is amazing to help you get that sense of giving in a little community even,
Yeah.
So try some creative stuff.
Yeah. Even just doing a jigsaw, if that,
Or Sudoku, stuff like that as well, where you've got to focus.
Yeah.
I love
I've done that for ages.
No, I've not actually.
I used to really love it, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a bit sad like that with puzzles and stuff.
No, jigsaw. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I need we talked about doing a jigsaw in lockdown, but we didn't necessarily get around to doing it. I think it ended up in family squabbles. No, I'm putting that piece down. No. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see if we've ended that. We're normally outside or running around doing sporting things. So the kids on anyway. So
sport's good.
Well, thank you so much, Helen, and I hope that's been really helpful. We've had a few comments, so I can't tell who it's from because you have to accept on StreamYard for them to know who you are when you give a comment. So we've got a good morning. We've got, I think recovery takes as long as is needed. In the in-between, we restart rebuilding. Very inspiring, Helen. I had multiple issues and undoing them is hard written. It, sometimes it is, but also sometimes working out where it's come from as well. Why do you feel like that? And, where has that come from? In terms of if it's a confidence issue, for example, or, and you think, and your inner critic's really loud or something like that, and you're frightened of trying something new, it's kind of thinking, well, where has that actually come from? What happened to make that? And it might be that it's not something that is, that you need therapy for, because it might be that it's just somebody that was maybe an authoritative figure, or has dented your confidence at an earlier age. And then you can start to work through that. Well, actually, I know where that's come from now, so this is what I'm going to do about it.
It's amazing the impact a single comment in your past can make. Absolutely. The odd things that I've realised partway through that, teacher that made X comment, or a friend, or whoever, they have a long-lasting impact, definitely. And it is a long road to getting through it, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, it's been 10 years since I was first diagnosed, that I've been battling with some issues, and I wouldn't say I'm 100% there at all, but to even be sort of 50% better is such a milestone.
Yeah.
So,
but also when something happens to you like that, where you have like an illness that happens to you, that's a massive change, isn't it, to get your head around in itself. So there's no shame in asking for help or talking to someone about it, or needing, there isn't. It's about you having the time to think and actually understand why you're feeling the way you are. And that's the first step to moving forward, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So, okay. And somebody's put, it takes hard work.
Yeah.
So that's it is true. But one thing that we do need to remember is that how we are feeling is always temporary, and there is always something that you can do to improve that. There's always someone out there that can help, or something that you can do that might be able to help. There's always things that you can try. And with, some of the interviews I've done with some people where they've been really, really at their lowest point, questioning everything, now they're very much of the opinion we must tell people, we must share this, that, how you feel right now may only be temporary, and it's likely to be temporary. So thank you so much, Helen. I've loved spending time with you. And just so that if anybody needs any design work, or is looking at putting in place an e-learning type course, how should they what should they get in contact with you for, and how should they do it?
Yeah, so the best place where I'm usually found is LinkedIn. So you can find me on there. My name is Helen Hill, Unlike the Genius. I'm quite often on Twitter these days with @UnlikeTheGenius as well. But if you are someone that's looking at moving training online, and you would like advice on how to do it, I can be booked for power hours or for project work, so you can contact me for those. Or I do have a free Facebook group called Take Your Training Online. So that is a group for anyone that just wants some little bits of tips that I share in there, and to build a little bit of a community of other people that are doing it as well. So you can come along and join that on Facebook. And I do have a course to go with that, which I've just launched. Created a lot of imposter syndrome, but there is a Take Your Training Online course on my website as well, which will help businesses move online. So that's
brilliant. And if you want to learn more about your mental fitness or about rebooting, this week is my free 5-day mental fitness reboot challenge. So if you haven't joined already, the link is above the video, and if you get in there today, I'll be still letting people in. So you don't miss out if you want to do some work on yourself this week. Only 15-20 minutes a day that it takes, and then I go live in the evening to answer any questions that you might have. So have a great week, and I hope that this has helped you, and thank you again, Helen.
No, thank you. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.